celebrate of having this intern program, and it's so much fun because the nice part about it is I actually get to see real substantial return on investment of seeing interns that were once in our program that are now living here in Kossuth or Palo Alto County. So that's pretty exciting, isn't it? So that really works. We want to thank all of our businesses too, because over the years you have been the best supporters, and that's what I tell all of the other counties that want to mirror our program. If it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for your support, in all honesty, you're the ones that told us what you wanted for the training program. You're the ones that told us how important it was to really get and garner our future workforce and get them in the door. And so we're pretty excited for the fact that now, after COVID, it is going to start to rejuvenate back. Of course, COVID hit us, and it had an impact on us. But now it's starting to come back. So we're excited about kicking off this new year, and I have Bob Jennings here that is going to introduce our speaker and give us a little bit of information before. So welcome, Bob Jennings.
Well, Marina mentioned that the businesses, without their support, we wouldn't have a career intern program, so thanks for that. But we also want to thank some others here today, and that would be our elected officials. If you're an elected official, whether you're from a county, Palo Alto or Kossuth County or city, please stand and be recognized, because without your support, we also don't have a career intern program. So thank you very much. And then I would also like to have our interns stand today, be recognized. How many? I'm not sure how many we have here. Thank you.
We got 13.
Thanks for coming to Kossuth County and Palo Alto County and working as an intern. And while you're here, enjoy your summer, enjoy the programs that the Career Intern Program provides. Also, don't forget to take a look at us as you're here. You might want to say, gosh, this is a great place to live. It is. I've been here now 30 years and enjoyed it. And we hope that you find success. Hopefully your success leads you back to us. And if it doesn't, come back and visit us, because we want to see you. Thank you. In insurance, you've got folders there that has a blank data sheet in it, so complete that before the end of the breakfast, and give that back. Maureen, who do you want to give it to back here?
Actually, one of our interns will be collecting it at the end of the program, and I want to actually introduce our two interns. I failed to do that. So these are the two that are going to be our go-to people. Veronica Capacious and Maya Kimna. So these are the ones that are going to be standing up in the front and collecting them.
Thank you. And the Career Intern Program wouldn't be successful without volunteers. And I'm going to have, can you introduce yourselves back here real quick? Our volunteers for the Career Intern? Go ahead.
I'm Maria Marso. I'm the HR officer at Iowa State. I'm Tasha Whitehoff. I'm vice principal officer at Marcus State. Tiffany Albert, and I am a credit analyst at Iowa Pacific Savings Bank in Denver. I'm Tina Alford. I do HR at Smithfield.
Thank you. I'm Robert Jennings. I work at Alabama Municipal Utilities, but I'm affiliated with the Economic Development Program via Iowa Lakes Community College as our trustee for the project. Somebody is hiding here.
I'm Jane Scopin. I'm the county youth coordinator with Iowa State Extension here in Kossuth County.
You're supposed to. Jane and I both have the same problem. We're in the challenge. Anyway, our next part is our guest speaker today. When I asked Kyle Norris, I said, give me some bio information. He says, it's all I'm a farm boy from Palo Alto County. And he is, but he's more than that. Kyle graduated graduated from Ruth Van Herscher High School, then went to South Dakota State, Brookings, right? Where he earned a BS, Bachelor of Science degree in athletic training, and also a Bachelor of Science in history. Then he traveled off to Indiana, went to Indiana University and got an MS in kinesiology. Did I say that? Sure. Well, that was pretty close. I haven't been in broadcasting for a long time, so I was kind of surprised I didn't say that after that. But anyway, and then he has professional affiliations with the National Athletic Trainers Association, Iowa Athletic Trainers Society, and Association for Career and Technical Education. His professional degrees, I would say from 1998 to 2005, he was Director of Sports Medicine for Iowa Lakes Orthopedics in Spirit Lake, and then from 2005 to 2022, he was a biology professor and head athletic trainer for Iowa Lakes Community College, and this past year, he was named a year ago the Executive Dean for the Emmitsburg campus at Iowa Lakes Community College. And I want to tell you, as a trustee for Iowa Lakes, Kyle has done a fabulous job. Appreciate everything he does. I give you today Kyle Norris.
Well, you might be wondering, how does a farm kid with a degree in history and a degree in athletic training end up as an executive dean? And that's kind of the whole purpose of my message today. And I told Tom earlier, don't be offended, but my message is geared more towards the fresh faces in the crowd today. But hopefully everybody can get a little something out of kind of that journey that life takes us on, whether we expect it or not. So first of all, I thank Maureen for asking me to come over and for involving really Iowa Lakes in a lot of what's been going on over the last year, both in Palo County and Kasuth County, and inviting us to be part of the business and industry excitement that's going on in our area. And I want to thank them as well, those of you in the room, for being part of this program and for being here today as well. So Maureen and her staff do a fantastic job, and I couldn't be happier to be here today. Internships. So what's the thing that comes to our mind when we think internships? Is it getting coffee? Is it being told to do something, you have no idea how to do it, and try to fake it, and you know how to do it, and then hoping it turns out okay? Is it getting asked to do a job that maybe you think you're overqualified for, underqualified for, it's not related to your education, it's not related to your goals in life, it's not related to... My point is, internships are hard. And they're hard on purpose. They need to lead into something else. Internships have the ability to take you on that path. And I'll talk a little bit about my path today and how being a graduate assistant, which is kind of the internship in the athletic training world, being a graduate assistant at a Big Ten school, covering football, and trying to take a full load of classes while you're doing 80 hours of work because you are expected to do the same thing that everybody else is doing. You got to ride the same airplanes to the same stadiums and be in the same place with everybody else who's getting paid way more than you are to do the exact same work. There's a toughness and a credibility that comes out of that. And that toughness and credibility is what leads you on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And my whole goal today is to kind of give you an idea as to what direction you're going to go. And is that direction based on the internship that you have now, or is it based on the leadership that you are going to achieve for yourself as your life moves forward, as opportunities present themselves? Because I'm going to tell you, as Bob said, I'm 1 year into an executive dean position, which by its title is nothing more than leadership. The point is, are you going to utilize the internship opportunities you have now to fill the enormous gap we have in leadership positions? We struggle mightily, even internally, to find individuals who are, number one, willing to be leaders, but then number two, that have taking advantage of every opportunity that's come in front of them to be prepared to become leaders. And so what I want to talk about today is what are some of the things that you can do in order to prepare yourself to make that jump today from thinking about your internship as an internship, about running into the store to pick up a part, to figuring out how to plan so we don't have to worry about being in a position where we have to go and run and get that part. Or in situations where we have to make decisions about who should have what role. And right now as an intern, you're going to get every role possible because things come up on a day-to-day basis in every industry and at every job. And as an intern, you're going to get that responsibility. And I'll be honest with you, it's those types of people that I look for that are willing to get their hands dirty and willing to do work to be in a leadership role. I see Mr. Gretsch, Supervisor Gretcher sitting in front of me. He drives by my house several times a day sometimes, and he'll find out that I'm in my yard a lot, doing work a lot. I'm out and about working. We're always intentionally doing the next thing to make things better, whether it's in your own life, whether it's in somebody else's life. He's made a lifetime of doing that for other people, and there's a ton of other people in this room that do that same thing, so use this internship opportunity to get to leadership. And the benefit of that is, even though internships are hard, I'm here today to tell you, leadership is easy. And I say that just slightly tongue-in-cheek. And I say it's easy because if you just do a Google search on how to become a leader, that's all it takes. I'm going to show you what you get. So, who's taking notes, interns? I'll talk while you guys write down every word that's on that screen. That's what makes leadership easy. And if you look at it, there's nothing up there that isn't important to becoming a leader, and there isn't probably anything up there that doesn't make you a fantastic intern. My leadership journey, just so we're kind of all on the same page about how we get into this position, I want to ask first, how many of you interns have been part of a leadership conference at one point or another, where as a student in high school you went off to Girls State or Boys State, or you went to a youth convocation that was directed towards leadership? How many of you have done something like that? A lot of you. And I'll tell you that even in my position, we still do things like that. And the one thing I want to impress upon you is it has very little to do when you come home from those things with the words that are on this screen. And it has a lot more to do with the individuals you interacted with as part of that program. Whether it was in the off time at lunch, or it was between sessions, or it was in the evenings when you had free time, that's where you create the connections that put you in a position to become a leader. The willingness to be human, the willingness to have those conversations, the willingness to entertain different points of view. That's where those things come from. So these words all kind of work into that, but at the same time we have to understand the opportunities in front of you anytime you have personal communication with others. And I bring this up, Bob mentioned in my bio that my degrees are in athletic training and they're in history, and they're in kinesiology. And I've been a certified athletic trainer for 26 years. And I've been in stadiums of 110,000 people. And I still cover football games that might have 100 people in attendance. And those types of things are things that are near and dear to me. But they've all created this opportunity where I am out in the public sphere a lot. And I am one of those people who, I've covered schools from Windham, Minnesota to Heron Lake, Minnesota, all the way down to Sioux Rapids and over to Harris Lake Park. And so I walk into a place and there are people that say, "Hey, how's it going?" And I have no idea who they are. Literally none. And that's my, I guess, cross to bear everywhere I go is, coming up with good nicknames for people so they think I might actually know who they are. But But the reality is, you're way better off being genuine and saying, hey, where do I know you from? And then that starts the conversation of what maybe we have in common and how we move forward in those conversations. But I never intended to be an executive dean. Never once. I didn't even expect to become a biology professor. It was never in my plan. I didn't expect to work in a community college. Not in my plan. So I'm asking you to be open to every single opportunity that comes your way. And from my leadership standpoint, you have to understand that every job that I took as I moved towards this was a job that did not exist before I took it. So my first one out of college, I come back to Spirit Lake, orthopedic surgeon up there asked me to come back. He knew I was in school. He knew my then fiance was working in the PT department in her hospital, knew I was out there and they wanted to start something. So I think I'm going back for an interview, and he picks me up in his truck and he's got a dog in the back and we're going to the vet, and my interview is basically me riding around with him for about an hour in his truck. And we get done with that and he said, all right, what day can you start? And I'm all dressed up and I'm all nervous, and he never looked at a resume, he never looked at anything, he just wanted to find out who I was. And finding out who people are and understanding that people are always keeping track of what you're doing and who you are is going to put you in a position to get those opportunities. And so I walked into that building. Gremlins. And so that was a position that I walked into. There was no office. There was no training facilities at any of the high schools I worked at. There was not even a perception. There was one athletic trainer in the entire corner of the state when I took my first position. So it was a relatively unknown profession. From there, we built that up to 11 high schools, 2 community colleges, 4 staff. I hired 3 people over the next 5 years. We were impacting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lives on a daily basis with that facility and that operation. That led directly to an opportunity at the college where they came up. I was seeing some athletes at the college and they said, hey, how about we start an athletic training program at the college? And I said, well, I don't think that's ever been done at the community college level, but let's give it a shot. So we started doing that off the Spirit Lake campus. We do that for about 3 or 4 years as an adjunct. Pretty soon I've got more students in my classes than some of the full-time professors have. So we think about, all right, well, let's move this to the college. So I take my job at the college as director of athletic training. There's not a training room at the college. They have no idea what to do with me. I basically just walk in the door, and there's a couple of burnout old whirlpools and some cabinets hanging sideways off the wall, and we've got to make something out of that. And so flash forward 20 years, and we've got one of the primary jewels of the community college and conferences in our facility in Esterville. It's kind of one of the wow factors of that facility, what we've been able to do in athletic training. The state-of-the-art medical facility that we have there. But my point is that one thing leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next. And then as long as you're keeping your head down and you're doing things that are impacting people positively, and those people respect what it is that you're doing, then the next opportunity shows up. And we'll get into a little bit of that in a few minutes as well. But I just want you to understand that I am standing in front of you without any intention of ever being here in my entire life. I would have never met Maureen. I would have never been over here at any point if I hadn't taken some of those chances 25 years ago. And nearly everything you do sometimes feels like a chance, especially when you're starting out in your career. And I just want to make sure that you understand that every single one of those is a building block to where you're going to end up. So don't be afraid to walk into nothing. I'm going to give you some tools, I hope, as interns to put you in a mindset to accept these things that might come your way. And number one, just to be an excellent person when it comes to these human relations types of things that leadership is all about. And the first thing I want to impress upon you is that it is never about you. And I come from a profession where it is 100% never about me. When I think about, or I tell you about me standing in a stadium at Ohio State, playing the #2 team in the nation with 110,000 people there, you are never as small as standing at the 50-yard line in the horseshoe, and I'm literally trying to talk to my coworker like this, can't hear a word I'm saying. You never feel as small because you are there for one reason, and that's for the 110 individuals that are on scholarship to play for your team, to be on ESPN. My grandma would watch every Saturday hoping to see me. She got really excited when people got hurt and laid on the field. Because guess who was coming? Me. And we had a big joke that I always told my grandma when I got walked into a field, I always looked to see where the cameras were set up so that when I ran out on the field, I could get myself facing the camera and then go down and talk to the athlete. And then she'd leave a message on my machine, I've had, so I got TV today. She was ecstatic about it. But the reality is, you guys watch games all the time. You see people go out when people get hurt. You think once at all about those individuals. What's their name? What's their background? What are they doing there? What's their education? We don't. Because the focus is somewhere else. And leadership is really about pushing focus someplace else. It is never about you. It's about what can you provide for people for them to be the best they possibly can be. It is about a selfless humility that allows you to be wrong occasionally, that allows you to take chances with the idea that you might mess it up the first time. It's about giving other people the opportunity to have a little freedom, to not be right, and then reward them when they are, steer your course. And I put a quote up here: a leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they'll say, we did it ourselves. Now, I thought that was a Bud Grant quote for years. He's the old Vikings coach from long ways back. Grizzly guy. Just passed away not too long. But it turns out it was way older than that, all right? So this is a classic quote, but for probably 15 years, I had him on my walls, a Bud Grant quote, so I got to change all that now. But this is one of those things where it works in my office as the executive dean, but it also worked 27 years ago when I was standing on a football field at North Carolina playing the Tar Heels. It worked then as well. And it's something you can kind of hold on to and kind of build around your journey, is that if you try to maintain this idea that it is about building others and helping others and creating a team and creating the opportunity for growth. We did a massive amount of curriculum changes in 12 months at the college. Massive, like 15 programs. We went in and changed credit loads, we changed credit sequences, we try to align better with our non-credit, we're trying to align better with Career Academy and secondary programs. None of that happened in a vacuum. I gave people the authority over their own areas to dictate to me what they thought needed to be done, because they're the experts in what they do and what they teach. And you create this openness that they really, I'll be honest with you, didn't have before. And then they were very willing to go ahead and do the work, and when they got done, man, they were really satisfied and really excited to start moving forward with that program. It's theirs. It's theirs. That's what we're trying to create. So I guess I can say that's rule number one. It's never about you. Here's rule number two. How does this paradox exist? It's always about you. And I say it's always about you because it is about how you wake up every morning and are going to interact with people. It is about the attitude that you bring to the table. It is about your willingness to have open conversations. As an intern, it's about your ability to say, I have no idea what I'm doing. Please help. Or it's about you saying, thank you for the opportunity to do something I had no idea how to do. Taking advantage of those opportunities and looking at them from the standpoint that I can do better, that I can treat people in a way that gives them the authority and the agency and the opportunity to make things better on a day-to-day basis. So even though outwardly it has to never be about you as a leader it has to be about you every day, all the time. I will tell you, in my previous role at the college, I worked a lot of hours. We had 15 sports. They went on all year long. We only had a couple of staff. We covered all of it. We traveled to regional tournaments, national tournaments. Plus, I was a professor in the classroom. So you worked a lot. I can tell you, in my new role, I work a lot less hours, but the hours I work are so incredibly intense that you have to bring this attitude every morning that I am prepared for this, that I can be the best person I can be for the people that look up to me for leadership. A lot of us have probably been in positions where we had somebody we reported to that maybe didn't have that attitude when they came to work every day or when they interacted with you outside of work, and those people are difficult to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Interns, you probably had professors that were just unwilling to work with you in any situation, or unwilling. Look, that unwillingness is what makes it difficult to be a leader. So when I say it is always about you, I put this picture up here because in my mind, this is a great indication of what a leader should be doing on a day-to-day basis, because where's the focus? We look at things like this, we saw, look at the pretty dogs, which are strong and muscular, and they do the work, and man, those things are fantastic. But the reality is that team works because of the individual that's completely out of focus. Because of not what's going on in this picture, but because that individual has a relationship with the team members outside of just running that sled. But it's about playing fetch occasionally, it's about learning the rules, it's about identifying goals, it's about training, it's about understanding where we're headed. That's the idea, that even though it is never about you, it has to always be about you. So I do things in threes. That's kind of one of my rules. Threes are good for my brain because you get to four and I get confused. So my 3 is show up, grow, and finish. And I'm just going to quickly run through these because I think these are things that I identify with and that I've identified in people that I try to bring into my leadership circle and people that I relied on over the years. And remember, as a leader, you're looking for people who can support and are excited and are motivated and understand that you're probably going to lose those people very quickly to somebody else because they're good at what they do. My first assistant that I hired as the executive, I never had an assistant to do anything before. I didn't even know how to use an assistant when I got my first assistant. But I hired somebody who was way overqualified because I knew that they would be able to do whatever I asked them to do. And you know what happened 4 months later? They were gone doing something else. Because within the college, but I knew that that's where they were headed. But you got to bring in people that are hungry. So number 1, speaking of hunger, burn your own calories. And what I mean by that, we have a saying a lot in athletics where that athlete is a calorie burner. That means it's an individual who we are always trying to keep track of. Where are they? Are they going to be on time today? Can we trust them to get this done? Are they going to do what's expected of them for the benefit of the team? Are they going to finish this project on time? Burn your own calories. Do your own work. Be where you're supposed to be. Meet the expectation. Exceed the expectation. Calorie burners are individuals who we spend 80% of our time working with, but they're only 10% of our space. So those individuals that we're looking for are the ones that burn their own calories, and we know exactly where they're going to be. We have no doubt about what they're going to do, and they're not going to push the work off on someone else, and they're not going to take credit for something they didn't do. So burn your own calories. Servant attitude, we talked about that a little bit already, that humility that goes into the day-to-day interactions that you have with other people. Are you coming to the conversation with an idea of what you can provide to them? Or are you coming to the table with what can I get out of every single person that's sitting here as quickly as I can so I can watch Sports Center for the next hour in my office? Okay? So bring that servant attitude. And again, I come to these things kind of naturally because that was the direction I took from my first day at South Dakota State, was I was going to be an athletic trainer. And when you decide you're going to be an athletic trainer, you are a servant from day one. You just literally are. You are waiting for athletes to come in and essentially ask you to do something for them. That is the job. And I found that as I worked into becoming a professor, and working with high schools as a high school athletic trainer, and now working with industry, that always has to start the conversation, what can I do for you? Because then that leads back to what we can do to make ourselves stronger so we can serve them. And then the next one here I have is engage and be present. And when I say engage and be present, we have every opportunity to dissociate from other humans. We have a phone in our pocket that we can spend 16 hours a day on if we want to, watching TikToks and snap faces and all that kind of stuff. We can do all that kind of stuff all day long, every day, if that's what we want to do. And all that does is encourage us to dissociate. Even though we're looking at people, we are not interacting with those people. So be human, don't be anti-human. Anti-human is what we're creating in those situations. When we become anti-human, we lose the ability to interact. And when we lose the ability to interact, we lose the ability to be part of a team. One of the other things that I do that I love to do is I've been a high school coach now I've been a coach since I was born, it feels like. Since the last day game I played, I started coaching. So I've been a high school coach for the last 10 years. And you want to know the one primary reason why I love coaching high school kids? It's because when they're with me for that hour and a half of practice, for those 3 hours of games, guess what is not around? There is no phone, there's no Apple Watch, there is no parent. It is the student, it is the athlete, it is the person-to-person human interaction that you get out of it. And that is so satisfying to me. It's like this reward that you get in those situations. And to see them smile, and to see them achieve, and to see them enjoy it, it tells me that we still have the ability not to be stuck in these devices that pull us away from being human. So be as human as you possibly can. Engage and be present. And do the things that are going to make you and your team better. The next thing I have on there is grow. The first one there, say yes and then figure it out. That's kind of been one of my mantras. If somebody comes to me and says, hey, do you think we can do this? I say, yeah, let's do this. Sounds fantastic. And then they leave, and then I got to spend the next hour trying to figure out how in the world we're going to get this done. And to provide the resources, and then go back to them and say, give them an idea or direction or something like that. But that's kind of been my life in a nutshell. Say yes and then figure it out. As a junior in college, we usually never got assignments that were leadership assignments. All right? As a junior in college, I was asked by the director of athletic training, he said, hey, how would you like to be the lead student athletic trainer for football at South Dakota State? I said, yes. And then I went home and freaked out because I had no idea what I was doing at that point. I mean, I barely knew the muscles of the body at that point. I didn't know anything about anything, really. I was, like we said, I was a farm kid. And now we're looking at a stadium, and now we're looking at all these athletes, and luckily most of those athletes are farm kids too, so we had something in common. But the reality was, you say yes, and then you do your best to make it happen. And it may not happen exactly the way that you expected or they expected, but saying yes is a great way to go in taking those chances, because those chances are what lead you to expanding your ability to deal with situations. one of my colleagues has a sign in her office that says everything is figure-outable. Figure-outable, yeah. The reality is that I've never come across a problem that I really couldn't solve in one way, shape, or form. Either by involving the right people or the right resources. Again, I'll go back to Ron here. I took my house and I literally moved my house 75 feet because I moved into my family's century farm. We've been there for 150 years. So I moved into a 100-year-old house that was almost falling down. And I told my wife it was going to be fantastic, and we got there and she's like, you moved me to this dump? And so we spent the next 15 years redoing that entire house from the bottom up. Did all the work ourselves. If you drive by my house, whatever you see, we did it. We put it there. We took all the rocks that my previous 4 generations had stuck in the grove from our field, and now it's all around my house's landscape. All right, that's one of those types of things where you get so much satisfaction from completing projects and doing it for yourself, but the reality is it bends your mind into ways that you never thought possible. That I had no idea how to go ahead and plumb my entire house when I started. By the time I got done, now I have neighbors that call me and say, hey, could you come over and fix this pipe? Could you solder this for me? And things like that. And so that goes into my next one. Become an expert. Those of you in here that are interns, you have the best asset to becoming an expert, and it's time. You have the time right now to decide what you want to become an expert in and how you want to become an expert, because becoming an expert makes you invaluable. And it can be in anything. All it takes is a little bit of dedication and a desire and some time to put into it. You can become an expert. And it seems like a simple kind of flaky thing to say, but the reality is I look at people who are experts. I walk into my Marine classroom, and Rick, God love him, he can talk to me for an hour about absolutely nothing. But when we start talking about marine engines, the stuff he's reeling off, right over my head. No idea what he's talking about. But he's an expert in that. And if you really want to become a person who is invaluable and dependable within your community or company, it's all about becoming an expert. And it really has to be in something, obviously, that you enjoy. But I mean, I can tell you that I don't want to brag, but I'm probably the best ankle taper you've ever seen. All right? No one cares. But that's important to me. And I'll be honest with you, in my profession, when people saw me tape an ankle, they were like, that kid's going places. And simple things like that. When I was at Indiana, I had a staff of 8 students, me the GA, and when it came time to tape ankles, I would have a line out the door for me to tape their ankle. And I never even looked up. I'd tape a case of tape in 25 minutes, and boom, next one, next one, next one, a minute at a time, and they're out the door. And everybody would just stand around and watch. And there's some personal satisfaction in that, but the reality is, take the time to become an expert. It didn't happen because I was taping there. It happened because 3 years before that, I would spend hour after hour after hour making sure that my clinical proficiency was top notch. And so take pride in what you do and understand what your role is and how that can impact what you're doing moving forward. And then the last of these 3 is finish. Finishers are the people that you want on your team. Shelby asked me how my softball season was going. And last night we got down 9-0 in the first inning. We came back and won 15-14 in extra innings. That's finishing. Those are the people you want around you, the ones that finish. You give them a job, you give them a task, you give them an opportunity, and they run, and they battle, and they work, and they finish. And that's an attitude that comes from leadership, but it's also an attitude that people bring to the table, sometimes not even knowing that they own it. It's just who they are. But own what you do. And also own what you don't do. If you're part of a team and other people are doing most of the work, and you're part of that presentation, and make sure people know who did the work on your team. Make sure that you take credit for what you did, but give credit to others for what they did as well. Show gratitude for the opportunities other people are giving you. Those opportunities are not free. When you're working in an industry, when you're working at my college, all of those things cost money, and all of those things take time, and those things are assets. And so show gratitude for being given the opportunity to be a part of something bigger than you. That win last night that we had took every single athlete on the team and 4 people off the bench, and everybody had to do everything right to get back into that game. And a lot of times you'll find yourself down in your own job where you're struggling with something day after day after day, and it takes a team member to help you. Make sure you show gratitude for that. So when you put all those things together, that's kind of my mantra, I guess, my timeline. When I'm evaluating people on an annual basis, this is kind of my evaluatory mechanism, where these are the things I'm looking for on a piece of paper in their daily activities. Can I apply some of these to them individually? So when we put all that stuff together, anybody familiar with this idea? Robert Frost, anybody? 2 roads diverge. I put this up there because we are presented with this like it is a win-lose situation. Like I gotta choose the one that's less traveled, or I gotta choose the one that's more traveled because it's safe, right? I am here to tell you that leadership looks more like this, right? Those of you in the room that have spent a career, Bob and I were talking before about his journey. Journeys look like this. Every path you take, way leads on to way, road leads on to road, leads to another pathway, and another pathway, and another pathway. The only ones that stay on that first single pathway are the ones who are not open to chances and opportunities. Because opportunity will not find you when you're looking for them. Opportunities show up out of nowhere. And they show up out of nowhere because you have been preparing yourself for those opportunities, for people to see things in you. I'm only here because people took chances on me. Dr. Donahue riding around in his truck with his lab, he took a chance on me. He didn't know me from anybody. My biology professor job at the college, they'd never seen me teach. I'd never seen me teach. They took a chance on me to become the executive dean, President Stokes. He and I had a relationship for 10 or 15 years previous to that, going all the way back to athletics, and then him working through registrar and other places working with me. He took a chance on me. But I put myself in those positions because I was the president of our school board for 10 years. I managed consolidation, a part-day share, an athletic share, a building project. All those things were not part of my day-to-day job. They were just part of opportunities. You want to know how that opportunity showed up? A guy pulled into my yard one day, and I was on my house, roofing my house. And he walked up underneath me, and he said, "Hey, how'd you like to be on school board?" And I was like, "Well, I never thought about it." He said, "Well, I'm putting your name in." I was like, "All right." I never ran or did anything I wanted in the next 12 years. All right, so understand that those opportunities will find you. Be open to them because they will allow you to grow into something that you never expected to be. So way leads on to way, leads on to way, leads on to way. Those of us that have lived a life understand that. Those that are just starting out, these internship opportunities and these things come up, that's where we want to get. So again, 3s. To kind of summarize that whole thing, understand the importance of your small decisions, because small decisions, whether positive or negative, will impact massively where you end up. Think about that. Small decisions. Am I going to get to work on time every day? Am I going to complete projects that are given to me every time? Am I gonna go for a walk today? That is a small decision, that if I make that decision to go for a walk every single day, that assists me in health and self-care and puts me in a position to have a better attitude and a better relationship with others. Those small decisions incrementally lead you into these large opportunities. Here's another great story for you on taking chances. So I was part of a company where we developed a volleyball training machine. I did it in my Quonset shop at my farm, where we built sensors into a ball so that when I hit the ball, it would tell me how many miles per hour I hit. Just digging around, trying to figure out somehow strain gauges and things like that, and we came across, hey, this actually works. So we built it, and we took it down to a show in Kansas City, or Houston. This was Houston. And they were using a radar gun. The radar gun broke, and a guy said, hey, I know a guy who has something we can use. So they came and got me, so I run this thing down through the city streets, down into this auditorium. The girls are hitting it, and it's working. And then they say, this is great. Can we do it on TV tonight for the Under Armour All-American match? And I said, well, not really, not with this piece of equipment. And they said, well, we got a radar gun working again. Would you mind going out on the court with the radar gun to get these numbers? Because we want to find out who the hardest hitter is. These are the 22 Under Armour All-American. I was like, you thought Bob was vertically challenged. I walked into that room and I was up to about here on most of those girls that were in that room. So I'm out there on the court at the attack line, and these girls are just beating balls at me. That's taking a chance. When I woke up that morning, I had no idea that was going to happen at the end of the day. But that led to, I've been the biomechanic and sports science consultant for the American Volleyball Coaches Association for 15 years now. And it led directly to that opportunity, to be part of emerging technologies and be part of those things. Now, we don't broadcast that, we don't make that a big deal, but my point in saying that is, those opportunities make you better at the opportunities that come to you in your daily life. The idea of taking that chance and sticking yourself out there, and then, 2 weeks later that was broadcast on ESPN. And Karch Karai, anybody knows Karch Karai, he's a fantastic men's player, he's the women's Olympic team coach. I became very good friends with him, he and I are still friends now. And that led on to things of going to watch the U.S. Olympic team and helping them with some of their training programs. And those types of things come out of that. Relationships, taking chances. So understand the importance of small decisions, putting yourself in positions where other folks. I already talked about resisting the temptation to be anti-human, so I won't go into that anymore. I think that's extremely important. I will tell you that probably 8 or 9 years ago, I pretty much eliminated social media from my life entirely. And I know that makes me, I don't know what that makes me, but I just found out very quickly that the people I really respected in leadership roles and the people who were killing it and were extremely looked up to with a lot of respect, they had no profiles anywhere. They just existed day to day talking to people, sending emails, making phone calls, texting me, talking to me. And I realized after scrolling through my feed one day that I just spent 15 minutes and I saw nothing that mattered to me. The things that mattered to me were the things that my family was sending me, or the people that were in my office were sending to me, so I pretty much eliminated. You'll find a few accounts out there and things like that that might be old. I might have posted a picture of my daughter running the state track meet or something because I was way too super proud not to. But beyond that, I pretty much eliminated all of it because I don't want to be tempted to be anti-human in my position. Then the last one I'll put up there, which we haven't talked about, is embracing a little bit of conflict in your life. Everything that will help you grow is going to be uncomfortable and stressful. I have a lot of conversations right now in my current job that I don't think I could have had 20 years ago. They're stressful and they're uncomfortable, but I will tell you they are the ones that help us grow the fastest and move forward the fastest when we have that open and honest communication in those situations. exercise. It can be uncomfortable, but it is also valuable. Getting up in the morning in time to get the dogs fed, the kids to school, your stuff put together, and your day planned, getting up early enough to do that can be uncomfortable, but it is important. Sometimes going to bed early enough at night can be uncomfortable because you're putting something aside that you just can't seem to let go of, but it's important that you do that. So I want to tell you, embrace discomfort. You as an intern, when somebody gives you a job and you are like, I cannot do this, I have no idea what this is, I've never even heard of this software, I've never even heard of this program, I don't even know where this place is you're sending me. Those are all fantastic opportunities. Embrace the discomfort, it's going to help you grow. And I should probably say this too, that I don't know that I was destined for this role, but I can tell you that a lot of it came out of my childhood. I had a mother who was a very quiet leader, who gave me freedom to screw up a lot, who did not place extremely tight burdens on me. I was one of those kids that got on my bike at 7 in the morning and took off and came back at supper time and experienced a lot of things on my own that I probably shouldn't have, but they helped me grow. My father passed away when I was 10 years old, and I found leadership in men in my school, in women in my school, in coaches, and I think that's where a lot of my servant attitude came from, was those people willing to help me and giving me the opportunities to bring my life back full circle so I could move back onto that farm that we had to move off of because we couldn't stay there. I grew up eating government cheese. I grew up wearing my sister's clothes. I grew up in a situation where we had nothing, literally nothing. And I know there's probably a lot of you that can relate to that. At that time, the economy was rough, and there were a lot of us in that situation. But those types of things are about embracing discomfort. I never knew really that I was poor. I never knew that those things were part of government programs. I never knew that. But I can tell you that it shaped who I am today. And it's about embracing discomfort and taking those opportunities and moving that forward. And that's why I try to continue to pay it forward, because of the fact I put this picture in here because this is a post-game picture from last year of my team. None of those smiles are fake. This is not the team picture where everybody lines up in front of the bleachers and it's for the newspaper and everybody says smile. This is after another, you can see how dirty they are, you can see how grungy they are. This is my favorite hairdo on a young kid is that one. Because they've been working and they don't care. Because it's all about somebody else. It's all about getting the job done. There's dirt all over them and they could not be happier. They absolutely love what they're doing with each other. And if you can create an opportunity like that for the people in your life, you are the most effective leader that you can possibly be. And that's just a microcosm of what we try to create in the teams that we put together at Iowa Lakes. What we try to do when we have relationships with high schools and with other industries that come to us, we want to make it feel not like work. Would you do it for free? Would you show up every day because what you're doing is that valuable? The impact that you're having on people. So I'm going to close just by saying, as an internship, moving into leadership, the world needs you. And the statistics tell us that 85% of companies say they don't have enough leaders. They're concerned about leadership. They're concerned about people wanting to move into leadership. But only about 10% of those companies are actually engaged in leadership development for their people at every level. And that means the responsibility is yours as young people. It's yours as an intern to make the most of the opportunity and be in charge of your own development into a leader. And once you've got it figured out, and you decide you're hungry, and you decide you want to fail a little bit, and you decide you want to be excited about what you do, then call me. because we'll have a place for you. And I only say that because I'm saying call me, because there are other people in this room who want you to call them too when you make that decision. So I'll hang around for a little bit if anybody has any questions, but I appreciate your time and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
So I'll say one thing. As a board member for the Iowa Lakes Community College Board of Trustees, I had to spend with the other trustees the whole day in a workshop last Tuesday. And Kyle and the executive dean for Esterville, Aaron Latona, were there. Last year, he mentioned we had our president retire. We hired Scott Stokes as the president. He was the executive dean for Esterville. And Tom Brotherton retired. Big shoes to fill. And after that meeting last Tuesday, I knew, after listening to Aaron and Kyle, that those shoes were well filled. And thank you for everything you do, and thank you for being here today.
Appreciate it.
Where were you yesterday? I sprained my ankle when I was walking. I could have that taken quick.
You're fine.
I'm going to bring Tasha up here, Tasha Wyckoff. She's going to talk about the intern program. And following that, I'm just going to say it real quick. Make sure you fill out your, you can come up, Tasha.
Okay.
You fill out your data sheets. Don't forget to do that. Give those to the intern from the KCEDC office. And we're going to do a photo back here, right?
No, it's actually right where you're standing,
Okay,
Bob.
we'll do a photo before we leave today, so interns, make sure you stick around.
Well, first off, I'd like to say thank you everyone for coming. And I'd like to piggyback a little bit with what Kyle had to say. I am also an OJT intern from Iowa Lakes Community College 30 years ago. But with the leadership side, he says leadership is easy, but leadership is easy because you work for it. I started as OJT with Deb Jones at Iowa Trust. I started there, like I said, 3 years ago almost, and just followed and listened to my mentors. So as you as interns, listen to your mentors, listen to who is there, who your boss is, who your coworkers are, and that kind of thing, because you pick up a lot of things from them. I went from there to Farm Credit, and now I'm vice president of the bank at Westbank. So I went from errand girl, I was called at Iowa Trust, to where I'm at today. Taking 30 years, but don't get discouraged, because you will get knocked down along the way somewhere, trust me, but listen to what people have to say when you're working yourself up, okay? And then, so the Kossuth and Palo Alto County Economic Development Corporation intern program is in its 24th year of existence under the direction of Maureen Albert. The intern program was developed in 1999 as a method to keep the best crop that we produce, our high school and college graduates. The intern program has grown and been embraced over the years. We have had a key committee, the Career Intern Committee, that plans and volunteers to work for various intern events throughout the summer. We all have our red shirts on except for Jane. The intern participants in networking events and skill building training sessions each year. The networking events allow interns chance to become acquainted with others and provide an opportunity to network with CEOs and company managers. Kossuth and Palo Alto Economic Development goals for the program is to provide opportunity to expand leadership, meet areas of business leaders, networking, and underlining the importance of volunteerism. So with that being said, I want to remind you that we do have sign-ups here for things that we do work on throughout the year. There are some great and awesome opportunities. I will say the golf one is fun, only because I'm doing that one this year. And the managing your money is fun, because I'm doing that one also. So, sign up for those. But no, we do have a lot of fun throughout the year. We have had in the past where the interns, you guys are a great group of kids. Get together. You don't have to just get together with these programs. We do encourage these because of the fact that you have the skill building professional growth one. That one is phenomenal because it does teach you how to grow in your field professionally, you know, how to speak, how to act, how to do all of that kind of thing. the secrets to success, that's just where business etiquette is. You know, just teaches you how to interact with your boss, with your coworkers, and that kind of thing. The golf intern outing, Alice training, I highly recommend that one. I've taken that one in the past. That one is huge because students in Palo Alto, you just never know what's going to happen. You know, we are smaller communities, I get that, but we still need Alice training, and Alice is where it's an active shooter training. It just, you know, teaches you in regards to, you know, any kind of position or place that you work at, you know, on how to get out of a situation. Excel training, oh my